as Colorado absolutely gets the doors blasted off of them by Oregon, 42-6. This wasn't even a football game that I honestly watched. I was a little late to the party, and then before I knew it, it was 21-0. At one point in this game, Colorado literally had 1.1 yards per play, and Oregon was absolutely outgaining them in every possible facet. We know this was an absolute domination by the Oregon Ducks over the Colorado Buffaloes as Deion Sanders, Shedeur, all of the Buffs go down for their first game of the season. And there's really levels for this, right? When you rebuild a college football team. And when you look at how this game played out, it is surprising to see a 42-6 blowout of the Colorado Buffaloes, considering how they've been tested. They've been able to step up in big moments for 3 straight weeks. But there's literally levels to rebuilding a college football team. You can't just come in immediately, plug in some players, this, that, and the third, and then think that you're going to be able to run off with it in your first big matchup. What's up, Ed? NFC South is so weak. Yes, it is. Dolphins won't last. Tua will get hurt again. Dolphins will fade away. Whoa. We got to give some good energy here, man. I know your Giants aren't looking too fantastic there, but don't throw the hate on the Miami Dolphins. I'm loving what Tua is doing. We're going to get into that a little later in the show. You say so many bad teams in the NFL. Realistically, I feel like there's only a few actual bad teams that it's like, hey, you roll them out there like Chicago Bears, they're going to get rolled over, right? But look at the Cardinals, look at the Texans, look at the Colts, look at the Commanders outside of the blowout, like actually being competitive football teams and staying in these games, somewhat. But just wanted to address some of those comments there. When you look at Colorado getting the doors blasted off by Oregon 42-6, there is literally levels to rebuilding a college football team, and this is one of them. Let's not forget, these were all new players, all new transfers, the most transfers in the portal that Colorado saw coming in. So this was going to be an experience that they had to witness together to continue to have the uniformity and really the solidarity of the football team together. But here's the 2 big takeaways, right? Colorado has no trenches. If you don't have trenches in high school football, college football, the NFL, you will not establish a run game. You will not establish pass protection for your quarterback. And if you cannot get to the other quarterback as well, that's not going to fare well for you. And that is exactly what happened in this game. You look at Colorado on the year, 23 sacks given up in 4 games is not winning football. Colorado has 7 sacks on their opponents this year. Shedeur was sacked 7 times just in this game. Bo Nix virtually untouched, literally. And let's just keep it real for a second also. Pac-12 football is actually this good, like USC, Oregon, especially those 2 this year. Utah with their defense, Washington with Michael Penix Jr. And, we're really all just so obsessed with the SEC and the ACC because they load the NFL, right? They put all the talent out there. But that is literally why the Pac-12 dispersed as such here recently. Now we've got the Tupac, the Pac-2, whatever you guys want to call it. We see these teams now going into the bigger conferences, but the Pac-12 has had talent. They've had people they put in the league every year, and this was a showing of, hey, we've still got other teams in here outside of the hype of Colorado. The Buffs were literally scoreless for 57 minutes in this football game. They even had their extra point blocked, right? Like that is literally adding insult to injury. We'll let you score the touchdown, but you're not even getting 7. You'll walk out of here with 2 field goals as far as I'm concerned. That's not a touchdown in my book if you don't put 7 on the board. And at one point, literally, they were averaging 1.1 yards per play with 13 total yards and -7 rushing yards in this game. Now, I will give credit to Colorado. I guess one takeaway you can look at from them here as a team, they're 14 for 14 in the red zone this year, with 9 of those being touchdowns. But when you look at this game, obviously they struggle to get in the end zone. Shedeur has literally been hassled all season, and it finally broke really big in this one with the exposure of no trenches and honestly played out the way it did. 12 penalties in the game for Colorado, so they're very undisciplined at this moment. And again, when you cannot establish it in the trenches, and I feel like Deion knew this, right? Like he said, we're literally about 7 to 8 dogs away from having this team complete. We hear about Warren Sapp wanting to coach for Colorado. Go ahead and get him in. Maybe try to get him in this year. You talk about paperwork next year. Nah, bring him in now. We need that legendary leadership. We know what Warren Sapp was on an NFL field. We know that Colorado's going to get their recruiting class up. They damn sure better look for some offensive and defensive linemen because their trenches are getting absolutely exposed. And let's just also kind of look at the level of talent that Deion and Shedeur, really the 2 stars of this team. Yes, there's respect for Travis Hunter. Yes, we know he didn't play. There's Mikey Harrison. There's Dylan Edwards. There's Shiloh Sanders. But when you look at where Deion and Shedeur specifically had success before they came here, it was at the HBCU level. And this is not a knock on HBCU talent at all, but it is not at the level of the Pac 12. And I know it's not very highly scouted, it's not very widely covered, and they definitely deserve more exposure with the HBCU talent. But the Pac 12 is going to reign supreme over HBCU talent in a lot of cases. Shedeur and Deion, as well as the entire Colorado roster, actually experienced Pac 12 football for the first time. And that was their first game in which they were playing Pac 12 football. And why do you guys think Bo Nix has got so much attention right now? We remember Bo Nix, the 2, 3, 4 years over at Auburn, then he transfers out, obviously goes to Oregon, has a major season last year, is going to enter the NFL draft this year, and he's one of the best prospects. He got so much attention because he left the SEC, which is an absolute gauntlet, literally the best talent in the country. They continue to put people in the NFL, and he came to the Pac 12, which meant a lower level of competition, which meant realistically more exposure for Bo Nix. That's basically what happened here with Colorado walking into this football game. Deion's crew getting ransacked by an actual Pac 12 football team, which again, Colorado did not play a single Pac 12 game until they stepped into this one. Bo Nix graduating, I guess, to the Pac 12 and getting more exposure is the same way that Deion in Colorado just got welcomed to the Pac 12. This is the level of talent, and USC is up next. That is going to be a major, major football game that everybody's going to have their eyes on, right? But you look at, Colorado, the first 3 games, 41.3 points. This game, they score 6 against number 10 Oregon, plus 11 in the point differential, negative 36 in this game to Oregon, 480 yards of offense in the first 3 games, 194 against Oregon. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. 418 passing yards on the regular, 159 versus Oregon. And Shedeur Sanders, I mean, he was ranked top 10 nationally with 1,251 yards passing, 10 touchdowns. But you saw Oregon came through, variety of pressures, coverages. They really confused the Colorado O-line, forced Shedeur Sanders into making some decisions. Now, he didn't turn the football over. Colorado did not turn the football over in this game. But you saw that, again, when Shedeur is getting hassled, when you do not have trench play, you will not be a good football team. If you can establish trench play with an average roster, it will more than likely trump the talent that is outside those trenches because, again, we know that the fight is won and lost in the trenches in the NFL. Shedeur was sacked 7 times, pressured on numerous other times, and really just had no sense of really uniformity that he could get going with things on the day with this offense, literally credited with negative 34 yards rushing because of all the sacks. Shedeur Sanders did not complete a pass of more than 21 yards, and he finished with 159 yards passing, like I mentioned, on 4.8 yards per attempt. So again, when you look at this football game, Colorado has no trenches, and they've showed us that all year. They've got to quarterback 7 total times in the last 12 quarters of football they played before this game. Shedeur was sacked 7 times in this game. Shedeur's been sacked 23 times in 4 games. That's a sack and a half a quarter if you don't know how to do math. 6 sacks a football game that Shedeur Sanders is having to endure. And when you play your first bigger division, higher level of talent competition game, sometimes you're going to get welcomed. And we hear Deion Wright in the presser, oh, no, we didn't need this. That's like saying you needed a car wreck. That's just stupid. Clearly, we know Deion's a little pissed, right? He said it was a good old-fashioned butt kicking, butt whooping. No, Travis Hunter would not have accounted for 36 points, but Deion's not taking it easy. Like, we were horrible. You don't burn the tape. You go home and watch this, and you literally, quote, get your butt up and let's go. We got a flight to catch. We got USC next week. We got the Heisman winner. We got the number 1 overall pick next week. There's no time to slouch. There's no time to get upset about it. So definitely, I guess we could say a humbling moment for Colorado. I don't think they were being cocky. I just think they were being very confident. A lot of people were used to hating on them. Boom, here they were in the spotlight. Everybody thinks it's just Prime and Shedeur. And realistically, this is a sound football team. They just got to get their dogs in the trenches. And realistically, this football team can go a long way.